Good morning, everyone. It is my absolute pleasure to welcome you here today to a very special event. My name is David Ansara. I'm the CEO of the Free Market Foundation. We are a policy think tank and advocacy organization dedicated to promoting individual liberty, free enterprise, and private property rights. And it is that last principle that brings us here together in recognition of the incredible work that the Khaya Lam project has been undertaking since 2010. That is when the project was conceptualized. It was the brainchild of the late Perry Feldman. And in 2013, 100 years after the Native Land Act of 1913, which undermined and eroded the property rights of black South Africans, and throughout the 20th century, many people were denied private property rights in South Africa. So 100 years after that piece of legislation was signed, the Khaya Lam project initiated its first 100 title deeds, a symbolic 100 title deeds. And we're very, very proud of the work that the Khaya Lam project has undertaken, particularly since then, and we're absolutely delighted to be here to celebrate 10,000 title deeds which have been successfully transferred with the incredible help of donors, municipalities, conveyancers and other stakeholders who have really believed in this project. So I will be facilitating today's program. We're absolutely delighted to be welcomed by Mayor Khaya van der Venter from the Stellenbosch municipality. She will be speaking in just a moment, just sharing her perspectives from the municipality, which has been an incredible partner for the Khaya Lam project. But in commemoration of this event and this milestone, we've put together a very short documentary, which we will be showing on the screen now. For our audience that is watching at home and around the world online, we'd be delighted if we can stream that directly to our audience. So I'm getting the thumbs up, so please enjoy this short retrospective of the Khaya Lam project. In many communities in South Africa, owning a piece of land is more than just a means of livelihood. It's a symbol of security, a foundation for a better future. Sadly, for many poor South Africans, the dream of property ownership remains just that, a dream. How can we make this dream a reality? The answer is simple, but not easy. My name is David Ansara, Chief Executive of the Free Market Foundation, a think tank and non-profit organization dedicated to the promotion of individual freedom and economic prosperity for all South Africans. We at the Free Market Foundation believe that everyone deserves a chance to build a better life for themselves and their families. That's why we're on a mission to provide free title deeds to those in need.
Letsatsing la kajeno ke sa tlene ke lo amohela title deed ya ka ka lo. Eng khale ke lebelletse ke batla.
This community have homes, but they've never owned it. And we're here today with the Khaya Lam initiative to give them that title deed, that piece of paper that means so much.
In 1913, the Natives Land Act effectively robbed black South Africans of their property rights. These fundamental human rights were further eroded during the apartheid period. Despite the advent of democracy, many South Africans still live as tenants of the state, eking out an existence on the margins of South Africa's economy. That is why in 2010, the Free Market Foundation launched what was perhaps the most important voluntary initiative to support private property rights in South Africa, the Khaya Lam project. The Khaya Lam project aimed to turn these council tenants into homeowners for the very first time.
Daniel Matumbe, 92 years old, and today was the first time that he could say, now I own my home.
It changes my life a lot because I was a tenant. So now I'm having a place that I will call it my home for my kids and me, so that I'm very happy that I have a land.
By working together with local municipalities and a team of conveyancers, we helped to convert dead capital into dynamic capital. It took us 3 years to transfer our first title deeds. In October 2013, exactly 100 years after the signing of the Natives Land Act, the Khaya Lam project symbolically handed out 100 title deeds to beneficiaries at its inaugural ceremony. Since then, we have been busy extending property rights to council tenants across the country. In fact, the Khaya Lam project recently celebrated a major milestone. I'm proud to announce that we recently completed 10,000 title deed transfers. Over 3,000 of these transfers took place last year in 2022.
Ek het nie gedink eendag sal ek die title deed kry, maar vandag ek Khaya Lam.
We could not have achieved this milestone without the ongoing support of our partner organizations, including our generous corporate and individual sponsors, municipalities, and the conveyancers who make these transfers possible. Private property rights are the basic building blocks for a free and prosperous society. Research shows that countries with strong private property rights tend to get wealthier over time. Property rights allow poor people to invest and upgrade their homes, to secure collateral for a loan to finance a business venture, or to settle disputes over their property. The economic benefits of private property rights are undeniable. But perhaps more important is the recognition of the fundamental dignity of property owners.
Khaya Lam ke a le leboha. Hobane ke a kgolwa ke lona le entseng gore le tle mona le re letlise title deed tsena. Ke a le leboha, ntate Modimo a le baba le a le tshireletse. Ke a leboha Khaya Lam. Halala Khaya Lam ke a leboha.
We do not see the poor as a special category. Poor people are ordinary people with the same hopes and aspirations as you and I. Let's give them the dignity and the agency that they deserve. If you care about turning council tenants into property owners, please support our work at Khaya Lam. For a mere 2,950 Rand, you can help to secure ownership for a home that is worth approximately 100,000 Rand. You can't get greater bang for your buck. All donations are tax deductible. We also encourage more municipalities, corporates, and individuals to partner with us. With your help, we can bring true, lasting home ownership to all South Africans. Project possible, and I am delighted to welcome to the stage Executive Mayor Advocate Gessie van der Venter of the Stellenbosch municipality. Thank you very much.
Program Director, let me do the protocol, but now I'm in so much trouble this morning because there's so many amazing people here. But let me just start at one side. I have to first acknowledge our Deputy Mayor, Jeremy Vasser, and many of our councillors who are also portfolio chairs. But to me, very, very important, maybe most important, is our chair, Judge. Warm welcome to you. You know, for those who do not know, a judge never retires. He just works slower at another venue, but he never retires. Warm welcome as chair this morning, but also to see you in Stellenbosch as judge. Then we have, of course, Terry Markman, our manager of Khaya Lam, then a board member, David Ansaro, who's also our MC, and of course I see Temba, never listed him on my protocol list, but I have to acknowledge you, my dear friend. It's always nice to have you in a building. And then I met also some of the very important esteemed guests. Mr. Clerk, warm welcome to you, Mr. Clerk. It's wonderful to have you here. And everybody that made the time this morning. Now, I would like to say that this is one of the nicest jobs I've ever had, because Khaya Lam is such a the Free Market Foundation, such wonderful people that's making my job and my life mission so much easier. When I became a mayor for the first time in 2011, I had no clue what I was doing, and it's a good thing. Judge just reminded me of my early days when I was next door in Paarl. I had no idea what this was all about. I had no idea how to go about it, but I had the passion to make a difference, because I believed then, as I believe now, that some of us have received privileges in the past where others did not receive that. And personally, I had the benefit of a wonderful education. Could not pay for it myself, but I studied with bursaries, and I was empowered to become a lawyer. And of course, we lived in our own house. Although dad passed away, my mom had her own house, and we never questioned that. We just assumed that, of course, you must have a house. And then later in life, I realized that so many people could not and was denied to possess their own property. That must have been really heartbreaking to know that fact. So one of the things I really wanted to do right from the start in 2011, but when I started in Stellenbosch in 2016, which is relevant now, to make sure that we do some redress, give back to people, empower people, build our country, taking it forward in the best possible way. And then you came along. What a wonderful, wonderful partner. I didn't expect that, but it is so wonderful. And I found this absolutely a new passion to make sure we hand over most, if not all, of all the outstanding title deeds in Stellenbosch before I go back to my own life and retire as mayor. And we start out with passion, but then I learned, David, how difficult it is. As a fellow lawyer, I understand that when the mom and the dad, real beneficiaries, passes away, then suddenly it becomes very muddy. Sometimes people move out, children move in, people move out, move to other districts. It becomes really difficult. But the agony of people wanting houses has always pained me personally. Ladies and gentlemen, if only you could see the waiting list at municipalities, people who apply for houses, people who are still waiting for houses. Forget about the title deed. And I think in all municipalities, there's such a huge backlog. There's thousands of people enlisting to get a house someday before they pass away. And I know, I looked at all other municipalities around us, and even all over, we see that the dates where people are now being allocated houses is around about 2,000, which means if you apply, you go onto a database, and so we are already behind again with 23, 24, 25 years in all municipalities. So that is really terrible to see and to know how many people do not have a house. It is even worse to see how many people live in backyards in terrible conditions, raise children, go to work, take children to university. One of the miracles, I think, of seeing what's happening in that space, to me personally, is always, sometimes you see a young girl going to work, or father going to work, children going to school, and they come out of that backyard shack immaculately dressed, hair beautiful, makeup beautiful. I don't know how they do that. I must tell you, I don't know how they do that, but that is absolutely wonderful. So the agony of not having a house is really one of those things that is crying out loud to be addressed. So I started off, and with our newfound wonderful partners, Khaya Lam and the Free Market Foundation, we started to work on the outstanding title deeds. And 10,000 is absolutely amazing. I really want to congratulate you on that. And I want to thank the Rupert family, Reinet Foundation, for making funds available to assist us. To get a house is most probably the most amazing gift anybody can give you. Recently we were, like 2 weeks ago, we were in Longlands, just outside Stellenbosch, and it was all much older people in their 80s, in their 90s, and a couple a bit younger. And I was just telling Terry, it was such a momentous occasion. In the hall, when their names were announced, they came dancing down the passageway, holding their document in their hands. People have been waiting since 2003 also. And sometimes you meet people who come and fetch their title deeds. They've been waiting for 30, 35 years, 40 years for a title deed. For what reason whatsoever. Because if you give somebody a house, there's so many benefits. They know they have security of tenure. They know they will not be kicked out. They don't have to worry about it anymore. They know they can make additions to their home. They know they can pass it on to their children. But it is just so stupid for me, if we look at that, Judge, that municipalities don't get that. Because once you give somebody a home, you also stop unrest. You create stability. People don't want their own property to be damaged. So, and you stop having to maintain it. You allow the people to take it forward. And people do. So we handed over title deeds in Longlands. Deputy assisted me 2 weeks ago. Yeah, we handed over title deeds. And of course we allow people, once they've been cleared, to move into the houses the moment it's built. Because we don't want other people to take away the houses. We do see, unfortunately, people invading houses once it's done, built, and not people don't live there. So those people have been there for about a year, maybe, a couple of months. And I was so surprised the other night when we went back there for another purpose, for a bit of political canvassing, to see the beautiful gardens. You must go and see that. Some of them have really made the most amazing gardens, which shows how proud they are. Some of them, we went into the houses to meet the people. Some of them put in new cupboards, new carpets, new tiles, and that just shows how amazing it is to allow these people to become homeowners. So yes, I'm very proud of that, because I think we're living out what Madiba said. And he said, it is in your hands to make a better world for all who live in it. And when I became a mayor for the first time, I often didn't sleep. I still don't sleep a lot, but other matters keep me awake nowadays. The one thing that really bothered me was a question. This is such an enormous space. There's so many challenges. I can never do this. How do I make a difference? What should I do? It's just all too much. It's overwhelming. And then I realized after some time, if all of us, everyone, just makes a small difference, contribute to this dream of bettering lives for other people, it'll all become bigger and bigger and bigger, and we'll get there. So we are doing in Stellenbosch our little part, and 10,000 is absolutely amazing. I mean, if one starts to count how far to count to 1,000, then you count to 2,000, and you carry on, only then you realize how massive it is. But I'm also very proud that in Stellenbosch, since I started in 2016, we've handed over 2,000 title deeds. At that point in time, when I started, there was 2,700 outstanding, which means Terry will have to move along now, because my term is coming to an end. So we really have to move along. And I want to also thank our staff from municipality. I see them all sitting here. Nona, I see everybody work with that. Sometimes we have to face really difficult circumstances. Sometimes people are not only nice about this, but they become very impatient to get their homes. We see some unrest, we see some tires burning, we see some impatience, but our staff just carried on. So I want to also thank them for that. But today is really to honor you for reaching a milestone of 10,000 title deeds. And I truly hope that you can carry on. This will become an unstoppable campaign, and other donors may also jump in. And let us work now towards 20,000. And if we carry on long enough, maybe some of us will be retired by then. I hope to sit on my stoep by that time and enjoy nature and my family. But maybe if people come after us, we can carry on until everybody who is entitled in this country to a title deed will have that. So I really want to honor and thank you all for the wonderful work you're doing. And it's always above board. It's always honest. It's always efficient. Not sure if the judge and David are responsible for that, but it's always amazing. So thank you very much. I really want to say to you, I salute you. You are the best, absolutely best. Thank you for allowing me to be here and maybe go from strength to strength. And please be reminded, my 700 may have become 1,000 now, and time is very limited. So I invite you to come with me. I said I'm going to put David in the back of my car and take him to Stellenbosch and make sure he stays there until we've done all our title deeds. But thank you so much for the opportunity to be here today.
Well, thank you, Mayor van der Venter. I think I might take you up on that. I wouldn't mind relocating to Stellenbosch. It's such a beautiful municipality, and I'm very proud of the work that we have done in partnership with the municipality. So thank you to you and your team and all of your officials who have helped to make this project possible. I'm now going to say, going to invite Senior Director at the Free Market Foundation, Themba Nolachungu, to give the vote of thanks to the Mayor. We're very proud of our long association with Themba. He was recently the recipient, which has been announced, of the Atlas Liberty Award, which is a global freedom award for his lifelong commitment to advancing the cause of individual liberty. So we're very honored to be associated with Themba and to have him as part of our team. Themba, over to you.
I must confess to the fact that Terry, in terms of designing the program for today's event, he's kept me on the short leash, which is that I just need to articulate a vote of thanks, express a vote of thanks, and that means that I have to say, thank you, Mayor, and then step down. No, I cannot do that. You know, because this is such an important event, but I'm going to be as brief as possible, Terry, and then you can wrap me over the knuckles afterwards. That's going to be fine with me. Well, I just want to reiterate or emphasize something that's very important and significant in terms of having a title deed. We all know what it means, but the important thing to remember about this always, all the time, is that the title deed that is legal means that your property becomes an economic asset, a hard economic asset, which means you, who owns the property, you become a shareholder of the national economy. You're no longer a so-called, have-not, as leftists and socialists would describe you. The point is you own a part of the national economy. You're a shareholder. And so you need to look up, I'm talking about the recipients, and walk up proud with your very energetic gait and feel confident that I am a shareholder of this national economy. Now just one word, quote that I want to share with you, because there are two people amongst others who who've gone beyond the other side of the Jordan divide, that is Mandela and Sol Plaatje. Mandela said, to quote him, "A man is not a man until he has a house of his own." That's Mandela. So he understood the significance and importance of owning a house. And then there is Sol Plaatje, who wrote a book on in 1917, and on a piece of legislation that everybody knows about, that emasculated black people economically. And he had said these words, if my memory serves me well, I hope it doesn't fail me. Awakening on Friday morning, June 20, 1913, the South African native found himself not actually a slave, but a pariah in the land of his birth. This was the Natives Land Act of 1913. Now, to the mayor representing the best run municipality in the whole of the country, we really appreciate the fact that you and your team, and with the deputy alongside you and the entire Stellenbosch team, you are the best in the country. You are so efficient, so efficient. And that if I was part of this community, that's part of the Stellenbosch jurisdiction, I would say, look, come voting time, I don't want anything to change. I don't want to drive the point home, so that you come away from this event and saying that it was a political event. No, it isn't. But truth be spoken to power, and this is the fact that this is the best run municipality. A hand of applause on that. I can hardly hear that. A thunderous applause! Thank you.
Well, thank you so much to Themba for those rousing words. And I think our Mayor van der Venter and Themba have really spoken about the human dignity aspect of property ownership. That, as I mentioned in the video, everyone is entitled to private property rights. It's not merely a policy instrument that may produce economic development or some kind of other beneficial outcome. It's really an extension of your human rights. Your right to ownership is a fundamental part of your individual freedom, and we are wanting to build a free society in South Africa. But I also think there are indeed extraordinary economic benefits to private property ownership. The Peruvian economist Hernando de Soto, he spoke and wrote and researched throughout his career about the benefits of private property ownership for the poor. Many poor people are sitting on what he terms dead capital that they're not able to leverage, they're not able to use that capital as collateral for a loan. You're not feeling secure enough to go and seek work, perhaps in a different location, because you fear that maybe when you come home, your property will have been seized by a malevolent actor. So really, private property rights are the building blocks of a robust and free and dynamic economy. Without that security of private ownership, we can't expect to create a healthy and vibrant economy. And we are very grateful to have a number of financial institutions, private companies, banks, that have really played an integral role in reinforcing private property rights in South Africa. This is obviously taking place against the backdrop where private property rights are unfortunately under threat by policy proposals like expropriation without compensation. We at the FMF have been unequivocal in our words and our deeds in opposing EWC. We think that that is totally the wrong way to go. We think that it is much better to strengthen private property rights than to dilute them. And we can solve other problems going forward from there. So I'm very pleased to welcome to the stage for some short remarks some of our financial backers. We'll start with Zentle Oyiya. She is a representative of Absa Bank. Her role there is strategic positioning and partnerships, and she's with Absa Home Loans. Zentle, please do come to the stage.
Thank you, David. I was hoping to come after Terry so he could say a few words that I could steal from him, or some great quotes, but I'll try and give him something to steal. Thank you all very much for giving us this moment. Thank you for hosting us to the amazing city of Stellenbosch, to the Free Market Foundation. I'm today with my colleague, Dion van Zyl. He's hiding at the back. He is our regional manager for the Eastern and Western Cape. We are part of Absa Home Loans. And I was hoping Dion would speak because I am known to cry at Khaya Lam events, but he has no respect for my makeup today. He doesn't care. And he said I must do some of the dirty work. So I'm here to do the dirty work of saying thank you to the Free Market Foundation for allowing us to partner with you. It has been an absolute honor and pleasure. I represent an organization that has a very long history in South Africa. The amalgamation of South African banks, a very interesting history in South Africa that people have varying opinions on. But I represent, I think, an organization that, very similar to South Africa, has taken on change and has taken on purpose in what we do every day. And so the organization that I'm part of now is Absa Home Loans. We have an ambition that it's like our morning affirmation. We have an ambition, and it was actually this ambition specifically that made me join Absa Home Loans. That is, we endeavor to house the nation and to shape our industry in a meaningful way. To house the nation is a very big ambition because there are 17 million households in South Africa, I think, as at the last census, households. Many of which live in tribal land, informal settlements, or rent, and therefore do not own title to their home. In fact, at last count, I think we had about 10 million of those households needing to be housed. And offering a home loan is not the only way to house the nation. It would be great, though, great business for us, if that were the case. But we know that as an institution that is deeply rooted in this country, that there have to be other ways in which we house the nation, beyond just the products that we offer as a bank. And this is why we've partnered with the likes of the Free Market Foundation on Khaya Lam, because there have to be alternative and creative ways for us to address the very many issues in this country and the layered issues that we have in this country. And the work that Khaya Lam is doing is one of those that does, I think, a great work at attempting to understand and to address this specific issue in the country. We often speak about housing and dignity. I know that David did as well. We fully believe that dignity is inherent to you as a human. So nothing that we do here we can ever claim to be the ones to give dignity to. But what an honor it is to be able to steward the work of acknowledging the dignity that a person deserves and inherently should have in the inherent right that they should have towards private property ownership. And for that reason, we are very, very grateful to have partnered with very many municipalities. Terry and I are on a mission. He introduced me this morning to David as his tormentor, and I must say I am, because we are on a mission to take the 10,000 milestone and multiply it. We are on a mission to get as part of our ambition as Absa Home Loans to shape our industry in a meaningful way, to get as many players in the real estate and property industry as possible on this bandwagon, so that we can get as many partners and we can tackle this thing in no time. Part of doing that means that we need to understand the size of the problem, and there's a piece of work that we're doing at the moment where we are trying to research and understand really the title deed backlog that we have across the country, so that we can get multiple players, government, private sector, civil society, to come together and say, now that we know how many title deeds really need to be transferred across this country, who's going to do what, and how long are we giving ourselves to do it. So I'm hoping that the next time we stand on the stage, we'll be on 100,000 and even 1 million, and many stages across the country. So thank you, Khaya Lam, really for the privilege and the honor of partnership. It is the only way that this country will attain its true potential and be the beacon that South Africa is and should be to the world, especially in places or spaces where we know we have potential and we've regressed as a nation. But I'm encouraged by the work that we all get to do together. I'm encouraged to see the work that the municipalities are doing in partnering, because really, there's only so much we can do, sit around a boardroom, find all the different players, conveyances, banks, etc. But until the municipalities, who are currently the custodians of these title deeds, come to the party, our work really has nowhere to go. And so we thank you for opening up your offices, your teams dealing with the number of people who come to you. And we really look forward to engaging with more levels of government, provincial and national, to empower and enable you guys with everything that you need to continue the partnership with us. We really want to find ways to do that. I've been trying to load a video that I wanted to play, and if the sound team will bear with me, I will send it to them shortly. So if there's time at the end of your program, I'd love to play it. There was a short video that Absa created for Khaya Lam in short celebration. We're just trying to get it through to the guys at the back, and they've been quite patient, but we'll do that for you shortly. But other than that, really, truly thankful. This is truly a beautiful municipality. I come from a small dorpie. I'm a Oos-Kaap girlie from a small town called Dordrecht that no one knows, because there's no traffic lights, and you blink once and you drive through it, and it's okay, because it's great. And great things also happen in small dorpies. So it's wonderful to drive out to Klapmuts and see the amazing work that you guys are doing here and that the teams are doing here. And thank you all. Here's to 10,000 tenfold, more to come. And thank you again, really, for the honor and the privilege of partnership. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Zintle, and to the Absa team as well for supporting us so wholeheartedly. I can see why Terry introduced her as the tormentor, because she set the bar very high, 100,000 or even 1 million. I think we need to aim high, and hopefully one day we get there with the help of everyone here today. Okay, we'll hopefully get that video played a little bit later, Zintle, but thank you for that, if you could just send that to me. And then I'm also delighted to say that the local success story, Capitec, has also been a key partner in the Khaya Lam project, fantastic organization. And we're delighted to welcome here Jean Rousseau, who is the head of social responsibility, marketing, and communications. Is it Jean or Jean? Jean. I beg your pardon. Jean, thank you so much.
Good morning, everyone. It's such a privilege to be here, and I think I can echo the words that I've heard this morning in the true sense that ownership of a home is a life-changing experience. And I'd like to congratulate Khaya Lam, the Free Market Foundation, Terry, Temba. It's been an absolute privilege to partner with you guys, the Stellenbosch municipality, for all the hard work that you guys are doing. As a national organization, Capitec is also very proud to also have been supporting the transfer of title deeds in a province that we operate in. So we are a bank for the communities, by the communities. And so it's really also encouraging to see what has been done in the Free State, where most of our support has been going. Capitec exists to improve people's financial lives, enabling them to live better. And I think that's what we're hearing today is such an important message, how we are unlocking economic opportunity for people when they have a sense of ownership, when they own their own homes. And I'll never forget the first time that I met Terry and Tembo when they came to visit us at Capitec. And they talked about the flywheel effect, because that's really what happens. When you own your own property, you have a sense of pride, you are able to maintain your property, improve it, and you are actually creating economic opportunity for people in your community. Those same individuals who help you to improve your property, they earn an income, and it becomes a knock-on effect, that flywheel effect that we can have in our societies. So I really want to encourage everyone. I think it's a fantastic initiative, a project to remain involved in, and certainly we will continue to be involved in. It's really a privilege to be here today. Thank you very much.
And yeah, thank you very much, Jean, for those words and for your support. I'd also like to extend a very special thanks to Remgrow, which has been with and supporting behind the scenes in a significant way the Khaya Lam project really since the early years, since the inception of the project. And Remgrow today is represented by Quibus Duplessis. Quibus, would you please do join us on the stage and share a few words on behalf of Remgrow.
Thanks, David. It is really a privilege and a humbling experience to be here today. So thanks also for the Free Market Foundation, Khaya Lam, for the 10,000, a great number. But I agree with the previous speakers. 100,000 or 1 million is possible, if we believe it is possible. And thanks also to the municipality of Stellenbosch for making the facilities available and for their support to the project as well. I had prepared some notes, but I think most of you have shared what I thought of sharing already. And maybe I'm just going to share one short story. I can't even remember how many years ago when the Free Market Foundation presented this project to Remgrow for the first time. And this was probably the quickest and easiest decision that Remgrow had to make. And we immediately approved 1 year's value of our CSI spent to go to this project, because this is where our hearts and our minds are also. Maybe another story, I shared this with somebody here this morning. When I joined the group in 1990, I'm from human resources, so listen, I don't know much about building houses and didn't know it back then at least. So my first project was the development of what was called the Groennevel project in Paarl, between Paarl and Wellington. So that was part of Dr. Rupert's dream back then, to provide housing to as many as possible employees of the organization. It actually started off in the early 1970s with a project called Parlita Park, which was a bit of a illegal venture back then. It wasn't allowed politically to provide that type of housing for people of the disadvantaged communities. So Dr. Rupert funded that, and I think one of my later projects at the Paarl factory was the transfer of ownership of those properties at Parlita Park from the company to individual employees at that particular point in time. And I think the end of that story is last week, Wednesday, I was privileged to have a small meeting with former colleagues of the Paarl factory in one of these houses in Groenewil. And I was humbled again by the pride, the dignity, the community in that area, that housing, that owning your own property and being responsible for that property means to everybody. Not only, I think somebody said, this is not a poor people thing, everybody, the dignity of owning your own house. So for us, this was easy to become part of this. We believe from our CSI perspective in tomorrow matters. So this is part of Tomorrow Matters. And the dignity, the pride, and that goes along with owning your own property. So from Remgro's perspective, we are also more nationally, so not only in Stellenbosch. So we aim that our contribution must be spread across more municipalities where we've got a footprint, and also, but mainly in the Western Cape province. But thank you very much for all the efforts. We've got the easy part. We've got to provide the funds. You people do the hard miles of actually executing this and making it happen at sort of grassroots level. So thank you very much for that, and it's really a privilege to be and a humbling experience personally to be here this morning. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Quibus and Remgro. I have been told that we can now show that video. Are we able to bring that up on the screen and feed that into our live feed? Great, thank you.
Kore letsatsi la kasheno kore ke letsatsi le le makatsa mo go nna ke sa lebella gore ka letsatsi le leng go ke tla be ke those ntho bang ke ne ke batla. Ha ke itse nang ka reng gore ha ke leboga absa ka ntho bang ke tse ditsenyane ka shino ene ke fitlheledi jwa ke kgathetse ke sa tsebe next isa ke tswa fela mo mo lebese ke mo apesa fela ke mo photla le nna ke photla ke tsama ke so hle ke tatsa ke di bona.
So today we are here in Kroonstad at the handover of the title deeds. So we've partnered with Khaya Lam, and they've been doing such an important work for a couple of years now, where they partner with municipalities, and through that process they are able to identify potential citizens who currently have been occupying homes for a while, but because of the historical past that we come from, they still don't have title deeds. And we know that title deeds is such an important thing for one to be able to have, and to also, to an extent, enable financial freedom. So it was such an important thing for us to be able to take part in, partner, and in there be able to play our part, not only in terms of financial inclusion, but as part of our bigger purpose of housing the nation as Absa Home Loans. definitely done, I think, quite an important work already in the Free State. And I'm definitely looking forward to seeing where else can we then be able to take this to. It is such a joy to be able to see the smiles on people's faces as they were receiving their title deed and what it actually means for them.
Well, thank you to Zinhle and Absa for that incredible video. And I think that was also a very good reflection of the fantastic work that Khaya Lam has been doing in the Free State in particular. And you may have seen there Searle Sachs, who is really an absolute champion in the Northern Free State there. And he's many of the thousands of title deeds he is responsible for. Searle and Lorna have really been true champions of the project. Okay, I think it would be lovely to hear a bit more from some of our local government partners in the Khaya Lam project. We've heard now from some of our sponsors, but I'd like to call to the stage Stefan Grobler, who is with the city of Cape Town. And yeah, Stefan, are you here? Thank you very much.
Thank you, David, Madam Mayor. I think everybody has now been thanked and welcomed enough, so I can just go and say congratulations to you with your partners, with your financial partners. Fantastic. We've been here for a couple of years and seen the progress, and it's really a remarkable achievement. Terry asked me to speak a bit on the history of the city of Cape Town, the miles we've walked with yourselves, and doing so, I will have to tell a couple of stories about our late Perry, who was with us for a couple of years, and well, to do so, I'm just going to go back a couple of years to how we actually met. And to do so, just a bit of context. I work for the city of Cape Town, and in around 2012, we were looking at projects, looking at tidying up projects, and we noticed this backlog of title deeds and trying to find out why people keep coming to our office saying, I need a title deed, I want to sell my house. We dug, and Jeanette from our office, our administrative giant, helped me dig through these things, and we eventually saw that this was a national problem. We eventually got the go-ahead to look for some solutions. You know, for us municipal workers, that means the instruction is write a policy. Which we attempted to do, and it was around 2015 I was called to the office of then Councillor Mamkele, who was Timber, and he phoned me and he said, can you come and meet somebody? I need you to speak to somebody about title deeds. And it wasn't a big thing then. We were just starting to scratch and get a bit of momentum. And I was introduced to Timber, and we had a discussion, and I told him, you know, how we see the issues and how we're going to move forward. And I remember Timber saying to me, you need to meet our fixer. This fixer turned out to be an English farmer from Parys, the Free State Parys. And I met Perry, and at our first meeting, I learned a life lesson through Perry. And, you know, we're never too old to take a life lesson to heart, and I'm going to share that with you, and perhaps you too can learn. The lesson I learned was, at the end of a meeting, do not say, "You can call me anytime." Perry did. Perry did. Perry made very sure he understood every single sentence. And you could not run 3 sentences ahead of Perry without him pulling you back 2 and saying, "I didn't understand that. What do you mean by that?" And it was immediately a friendly, warm relationship, and just he was just knowledge seeking all the time, and his excuse would be, "I'm sorry for asking again, but I'm just a farmer, and I need to understand these things. This is my job now, and I need to understand these things." And he would phone all the time, and eventually, they got introduced to more municipalities, and he'd be at meetings, and he'd phone me. He'd say, "This person said this. I don't understand it. Explain it to me. And what's the solution here?" And then he'd phone me back. "But here's the situation. What's the solution?" He would say, "I think this is the solution." And I said something to him one day. It's a little system Jeanette and myself in my office has worked out. To understand it, you've got to know why are we in this situation with the title deeds? Why are we in this ownership conundrum? It's because we didn't do our jobs. That's pretty much it. The project managers back then, there was no focus on ownership. They didn't do their jobs. They didn't finish the job. And a job gets exponentially more complicated to finish it 20, 25 years later. So Perry said, "But how do you decide what to do?" And I said to Perry, "We've developed a little rule in our office, and the municipal guys working on the ground will understand that. When we look at a solution now, we say, if then, what now?" Yes. If then, what now? If we had done our job back then, what would the situation with you in your house be now? And Perry loved this, but he'd quite often forget it, and then I'd get a phone call. I see it's Perry, but I'm a bit busy. I'll call him back, and then after the 6th missed call, I better answer him now. He says, "Stefan, what's that thing? What's that thing?" Anyway, Perry is greatly missed, but I'm sure, and I know we're going to carry on and do many more transfers. And just in closing, not quite ironically, we've achieved, Jeanette, just over 10,000 transfers. A lot of them in conjunction with Khaya Lam. And thank you to all our attorneys sitting here who guide us along, keep us out of jail. And yes, but we can achieve a lot, and we hope to do a lot more with you. Thank you very, very much.
Well, thank you very much, Stefan. Well, what I think we should do is, we are advocates of free enterprise and competition, so maybe we should instill a friendly competition between the City of Cape Town and the Stellenbosch municipality to see who wins the title deed race. So with that, I'd like to call to the stage Ratanda Nona Godlo, who's the Manager of Housing Administration and Integrated Human Settlements at Stellenbosch Municipality.
Thank you, Program Director, and morning, Executive Mayor, and the Chairperson of the Integrated Human Settlements Committee. And thank you to Khaya Lam for such an important event where we are celebrating the titling of people who received houses mostly pre-1994. because this is the backlog that we are dealing with. I think most of the speakers have already outlined what Khaya Lam has done, the work, the important work that has been done by the financial institutions or the donors. The amount of money that you have injected into this program and the eagerness of Khaya Lam going beyond and above the agreements that they've signed with municipalities have made our lives easier. Just a story that I want to tell, that I always tell when we hand over title deeds. The agreement that Khaya Lam has with Stellenbosch is that they give a certain amount of money for each title deed that has been transferred. But when we started working on this program, we realized that the problems were far more than us just giving Dion, our conveyancer, a signed deed of sale. There were missing beneficiaries. People had sold houses in the black market. People had swapped houses. And the cry of many managers at the municipality, my colleague is here, Mr. Lester van Stavel, is that we don't have capacity. What do we do, municipal manager? How are we going to meet your targets? How are we going to make sure that the key priority areas of the executive mayor are met when her term of office comes to end? And we approached the late Perry then to say, we've got this problem. And he asked us, how are we going to sort it out? Then we said we need feet on the ground to actually go door to door and we do beneficiary verification, especially for houses that were built before 2010. And it was hardly 2 weeks. They had appointed 2 field workers for us. They are here. They also gave them a mobile photocopying machine, because they then realized that most of the people who don't go to the office are elderly people. They are people who are living with disabilities. Now, they are able to go to their homes, make photocopies of their IDs in the comfort of their homes, any copies of documents that we need to complete a duly signed and legal deed of sale, and they sign all the documents in the comfort of their home. And that is what service delivery is about, Madam Mayor. And the other thing that the other story is that last year we had a meeting with Terry, and we've got a backlog in a small township called Cluttersville. We found out that the township, the general plan had lapsed at the office of the Surveyor General. And we didn't have a service provider that was appointed through our tendering system. And that can take many months to complete that process. And Terry said, no, we will provide you with a town planner and we will pay for that town planner. So they've really gone out of their way to assist our municipalities in ensuring that we do get to a stage where we have eradicated the backlog in terms of the title deeds registrations. And Terry, I think we never told you that we had here in Klapmuts, with the amalgamation of the municipalities and documents moving between one office to another, 52 title deeds got lost in a project called Brickfields. And again, we went to Khaya Lam, and we said, but we need VA copies, and it's not part of our tender specifications that we can instruct the lawyers to go and apply for the VA copies. And last year, Madam Mayor, when you were handing over the title deeds here in Klapmuts, those 52 were part of that batch. So thank you very much. We thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Rotunda, for representing the municipality of Stellenbosch. Okay, well, I think that ends the segment from our sponsors and our local government partners. But I think it's very appropriate that we are having Terry Markman speaking up next. Terry is really the driving force of the Khaya Lam project. He understands the project and has really taken the reins, especially since Perry Feldman passed away. And I'm very glad that we are mentioning Perry today. If you ever wonder if one person can make a difference in the world, well, I think Perry is a very good example of somebody who really made an impact and left a legacy well after he left and passed away. So I think we honor that legacy and we carry that work forward. And I think Terry is the perfect person to do that. So Terry, very much looking forward to hearing from you about the details of the project and also the future of the Khaya Lam project.
Members of the Mayoral Committee and sponsors, municipal people, conveyancers and friends. I need to tell you that Perry and I were friendly for 50 years. So, and I haven't felt like this, but all you people have said, thank you very much for that. Now, one of the most important things I know when you start making a speech, and everybody will tell you, is never ever start with an apology. I'm breaking that rule because you have all been brought here, what I want to say is under false pretenses. We actually have not done 10,000 titles. As of today, I believe we've now done 12,000. That's obviously a well-known phrase from Nelson Mandela. And it doesn't matter somebody else has said it, but it is so true. Sorry, it is so true, thanks. It is so true that a man is not a man until he has a house of his own. And I'm sure that when he said a man, he meant general, and because a lot of the women who are owners, a lot of people are owners, are women now. When I was thinking about who was the most, when I was thinking about who was the founding father, so to speak, of Khaya Lam, obviously I came across, I thought it was Perry Feldman. And then I realized, actually, we also have a founding father of the Free Market Foundation. And that is 35 years ago, Dirk Herzog, who was a partner of Anton Rupert, was the founding father. If not for Dirk, it's possible that there would not have been a Free Market Foundation, and then definitely not a Khaya Lam. And I realized that, in fact, Willem Herzog, Willem, you're going to have to stand up, I'm afraid, is Dirk's grandson. So we have a continuity here, and Willem is on our board, which is fantastic. I just thought there was such a continuity here. Let's go getting on to Khaya Lam now. Perry is undoubtedly the founding father of Khaya Lam. We've been friendly, as I said, for decades, and we were having a chat one day, and he said, I'm just about to retire, I've got to do something. We have to do something. There are a lot of people in Paris who need to get titles, and one thing led to another, and as Stefan was saying, he never gave up. After a year or so talking to people in the Free Market Foundation, he eventually said, let's try a pilot study. We got FNB to fund our first pilot study, and it was 100 titles. It took us 3 years. Admittedly, it wasn't every day. Every 3 months we'd have another meeting, and I remember talking about stories that Perry, we were sitting around the table with the mayor, and they asked who everybody was and who you. I'm from the Free Market Foundation, and so on and so on. He went to the mayor, a lady mayor, and who are you, she said to Perry. She says, I'm just a citizen of Paris. And she kicked him out because he wasn't representing the Free Market Foundation. I'm pleased to tell you that not long after that, they were very, very best friends. So FNB funded our first, and FNB were very, very good. They funded our first 100. Marius Maria was there, and he actually was the person who spoke at the titles. The other interesting thing is that the person who gave out the titles was Ace Makashulu. And there's a background. Perry, and you saw Cyril Sachs on one of the photographs, both very close to Ace in the 80s. They bailed him out, they helped him financially, and so on and so forth. So at the end of those first 100 titles, Ace Makashula comes up to Perry and says, "Come, where are we going to have lunch? You know, just come and sit together." And I was just amazed. I subsequently learned that Perry and Cyril, the two families, had been the only white people invited to Ace's wedding. So he was very close in those days. And he helped us get that, and Perry's convinced that if it wasn't for Ace helping us get through some of the red tape, it would never have happened. Oh, I've got to do them, sorry. James, I'm not winning. Okay. And then one of the very first MOUs that was signed was with Stellenbosch municipality. And as I said when I met the mayor, that I've known her for a long time, because that's the picture that I've had in my mind also, with Perry on the left and the mayor signing the MOU. And Veronica, top right, is Perry's wife, and so on. So that has been a very important step in terms of signing our MOU with the mayor. I'm not winning you, James. There. I'm not going to go through this in detail. We've all spoken about the benefits of ownership. In fact, it is probably true to say that it's one of the few things you can do in life where there are no negatives. Just benefit after benefit. David mentioned Hernando de Soto, who's a Peruvian economist, and he uses the term dead capital. If you're staying in a house that's owned by the municipality, you can do nothing with it. The moment the owner becomes the person who occupies that house becomes the owner, then it becomes what he referred to as live capital. And you can do all sorts of things with that. Just an example of some of the changes it makes to people. We do know is that there are enormous impact, economic benefits of owning your own house. We may be doing some research, but without doing research, as I said before, there are no negatives. It's all just a positive. We know that things happen. There are two interesting examples. One is the slums in Brazil known as the favelas. Many years ago, the municipality of where the favelas were brought electricity to their area. Now, that's not property rights, but if you're staying there and the municipality brings electricity to your area, you know you're not going to be kicked out tomorrow. So they had de facto rights. They knew they were going to be there. And a sociologist wrote a story that said there was an enormous difference. Instead of men coming home over the weekend with a bottle of wine, they came home over the weekend with a can of paint. And I think that paints the picture of what the difference is. And another interesting story, Prague, and I know that Temba was in Prague, and I've also been there, is I think in the 80s or thereabout, they privatized a lot of the housing. And what was fascinating, that I think Temba tells a story that he was walking down the street passing all these houses, and the person said, "Oh, that one's been privatized," to later, "and that one's been privatized." And Temba says, "How do you know that?" He said, "Well, just look at them. You can see what they've done. They painted their front door, they painted the fences, and so on." So that's what home ownership does. We know that. Let's just have a look at a few slides. I think that this is one in Paris, and that was before and after. We've also done quite a few other. I'm battling. A very interesting one in Nkuzi. There was a so-called semi-detached house. It was subdivided, but there were two people living there, and both families owned the total. So if the family on the left put another room on, the family on the right owned half of that room. It was very strange. Anyway, we were involved, and we subdivided the house so that now you've got a proper ownership of the two people, each own their half. In Aberdeen, which is near Graafrenet, Basnodier, there was a CPA, Community Property Association, and they just don't work. We can talk about that. And we then arranged for each of the 180 residents to get their own title. Perry was very friendly with the Querbus Denhausen in Parijs, and he motivated Querbus to actually give all his staff titles. By the way, the farmer, it wasn't on their property, it was in Parijs as such, so he paid for that. And you can see the result there. And then that is one of our nicest photographs in Klapmuts in the Free State. A sponsor there was Standard Bank. It was in 2017. And we had some lovely responses to that. The next one was from the person from Standard Bank who said, wow, what an amazing experience. It was really the highlight of my career, and thank you for helping us change people's lives. I want to thank the Free Market Foundation, etc., etc. So I must tell you that is the life that we live. That it gives us the spirit to carry on working. And we even got an email from this is in Stellenbosch, and I think probably you will remember that, Madam Mayor, giving out a title. Dr. Rupert and his wife again are giving out that title in 2018. We also have prepared a little booklet which we give out to people when they get their titles. It's in, I think, 7 or 8 languages, and it's useful. I mean, I'm sure that somebody reading it will improve it and as time goes along, but that's just to make sure that they understand what the issues are. It talks about wills and so on. And this is just an idea of where we're working. So Perry was from Parijs, so we started working in the Free State. He started working in Parijs, which is part of Ngwati. He also, about 5 or 6 years ago, made a contact with somebody in Kroonstad, which is Makwakwa. So we're mainly working in the Free State, and the other major area is the Western Cape. I would say about 90% of our titles have been in those 2 provinces. We recently opened up in Umgeni, that's Howick in the KZN, and in the Eastern Cape we're working in Graaff-Reinet, which is a very fascinating area. Every project is different. They are so different from each other. The one in Graaff-Reinet is Umasisaki, about 2,000 properties, but 5 or 10% of the houses were built over the boundaries. So you can't transfer a title like that. So you've got to go and redesign it, replan it and so on. It's really a difficult issue. Now, talking about Perry, what a loss. Joshua at the back is, come on Joshua, stand up. Perry came down to the Western Cape to meet Joshua, to go and look at Sutherland. And Perry had never met him. And when Perry was sick, Joshua was the doctor, the nurse, the caterer and everything. And that was really an unbelievable thing that we did. We met on a Sunday night, and we had a very enjoyable evening watching the rugby together. But it was a pleasure to meet Joshua. Thank you, Joshua. So I've now taken over effectively managing the whole project, but very, very heavily involved in the Western Cape. And Lorna and Saul Sachs, who incidentally were very friendly with Perry, were in business with Perry. They come from Parijs, and they're really related. So we are very lucky to have had this couple come up and say we would like to help. Just to now go along, we have had a lot of achievements. We have, as you know, 10,000, that should be 12,000, apologies. 10,000 means if you multiply by about 120, 130,000, you're ending up 1.5 million dead capital that has become live capital. Very significant. The other thing is, if you want to look at it as a return on your investment, in inverted commas, if you invest 3,000 Rand, you're getting something like 5,000% investment. Going from 3,000 to say 150,000 Rand, that's a 5,000 return on your investment. Very moving. Our oldest recipient was Ellen Chabalala from Parijs at 101 years. And somebody said to her, "What does this mean to you?" You know, obviously trying to pull out some sort of comment from her. And she said, "Now I can die, and I know that my children will get the property." And we've been awarded had a couple of awards as well. So where do we go from here? And that's really the big question. Oops. This year has been very, very eventful. You won't know, but one of the people on our little video was Rudy Botha of Better Bond. He's the CEO of Better Bond. And he phoned up David, I think it was February, March this year, and he said, David, I need to talk to you. And we had a meeting. And we'd done 3,000 the year before. He knew that because they've been very kind sponsors of ours. And he said, David, that's fantastic. And we knew there was a but coming. And the but was, but that's not enough, which we've heard over and over again. He says, if there are 100,000 to do, not millions, if there are 100,000 years to do, it's going to take us 30 years to do that. So we've got to do something to scale up. And we've been having close discussions with him. And it's very possible that he's going to bring his team in and help us to scale up. We need a different mindset. We have already, incidentally, appointed somebody to do what I think is very difficult, but it may work. We've written to every single municipality in the 200-odd municipalities in South Africa. We've written to every single one, and we've had about 5 or 10 responses. And we write to the mayor, and to the executive, the municipal manager, and the relevant council, and so on. You wouldn't have got an email from us because we work with you. But these are municipalities we've never worked with before. And we're hoping that we will get some sort of response. We've had meetings with a few of them. And these meetings are quite interesting because what I learned very, very soon after I took over is that the Free State has a very, very different situation to the Western Cape and other places. Now, we go into the Western Cape, and people like Ilse and Nona and so on, they know what they want, and we just come along and we say, okay, we'll do that project and so on. They bring the applicants, so to speak, to us. In the Free State, that doesn't happen. I don't know why, so it's not going to help if you say to me why, but it doesn't happen. So we have to go out and get the applicants, which means going door to door and saying to people, please come. And you have political problems. There are 2 areas. The one area, this councillor says you can't come into my area, but you can come into my area. But on a Sunday, we take a loud hailer and we go around, and fortunately the sound goes over into his area. So we do that. And we are trying to get applicants. And that's one of our problems, by the way. I think that in the medium to long term, I honestly believe that with all the people like you here who are sponsoring it, that the money from sponsors is not the primary problem, because people just think that this is the best thing and they're right. What is the problem, I think, is in a place like the Free State, is to try and get enough applicants to create the jobs, which is an interesting situation. So we're now talking about, with Better Bond, how to scale up. And then, as I said, another one of our mentors, I didn't say you were a tormentor, I said you were a mentor who's become a tormentor, and that's simply ABSA. And ABSA are saying to us, let's do the total, what is the total number? I don't think that anybody knows that number. I've heard figures from 500,000 to 1.5 million. But even if it's a few 100,000, we've still got to keep going. We just don't know. And you go into a new municipality and you say to them, but how many have you got? And they look at you and say, I'm not sure. So if the municipality doesn't know, I don't know how the province knows, I don't know how national knows. But we know that there are a lot. And what's interesting is that another way of possibly doing it, which we're looking at, is to look at the valuation rolls, which actually tells you that a particular property is owned by the municipality or owned by somebody. And if we can look at that, we may be able to get that information. That's assuming that the valuation rolls are correct. And recently at one of the handouts, ABSA, with Zintley pushing them, said, can we come after the handout and do a financial education system? And I thought, oh my gosh, can you imagine these guys just having spent an hour or 2 at the handover event and then wanting somebody to come and give them a story about finances and so on, and wills and so on? And I phoned up Searle afterwards, I said, how was it? He says they didn't want the guys to go away. After 2 hours, they still wanted to hear more about it. So we're learning from our sponsors that there are other things that we can do. And thank you for being a tormentor. What are the futures to hold? Now, I personally think that one of the biggest problems we have in the future is our informal settlements. In Johannesburg, we have something of the order I don't know what we have here, but we have something in the order of 300 informal settlements in Joburg alone. There must be 1,000 in the country. There must be 1 million people plus living in informal settlements. And now I become with a very controversial idea. We can do one of two things. We can go from a third world informal settlement to a first world and say that's all we want. We'd never want to allow people to have freehold property on the informal settlements, on their slums or whatever it is, unless we can do the proper thing. And what is the proper thing? Every property has to have water and sewers, just have to have a road for a fire engine. So we've got two options of going forward. One is we wait until there's sufficient funds in the country to transfer all these informal settlements into a formal settlement. I'm afraid it's not going to happen. It's really not going to happen. I see a few people nodding, but there are still people who want to make it happen. If there was a magic bullet, I would be delighted to shoot that one and make it happen, but it just won't happen. So we have to think through, is there an interim stage of taking an informal settlement, even providing them with property rights. So I'm in a little shanty here and you're next door to me. I'm doing better than you, I can buy yours. I can maybe subdivide or I can amalgamate the two properties. I don't know, but it's somewhere that we're going to go. And in fact, I've got a meeting tomorrow on site in Theewaterskloof in Riviersonde, where we're going to look at a place where we can maybe do a little pilot study there. But to me, nothing more important than that. And I don't know, everybody who's involved in that, we need to think about it. We need to come up with solutions. Tribal areas is a massive one, but it's not a technical problem, it's a political problem. I am having this discussion with one person in Joburg who is a pro bono lawyer with a big firm, and she knows somebody who comes from KZN, he's a youngster, and he thinks that maybe he will be prepared to become a pilot study and allow his people to own the people in his, he will become the official person, the tribal chief and so on. And we think that he may be able to assist with that. And that would be also magic. We've just got to get the pilot study going on these things. And finally, there are the farms. We had a meeting, Perry and I had a meeting with Jannie de Villiers of Grain SA about 5 years ago. And he was talking about the work that they were doing in the Eastern Cape. And they took a little farmer, assisted him, and did everything for him, literally, and taught him. I'll say him, mainly a lot of them were hers, and the men and women. And they managed to get the output from 1 ton per hectare to 4 or 5 tons per hectare. That's incredible. I mean, just by giving them the education and so on and so forth. But he said, our problem is that we cannot sustain this because they don't own the property. So we have to look at the problems of the farming there, and I've got a meeting with somebody by the name of, I can't think of the name of the man, he was with Agri SA, and hopefully she will help us with that. So that is really the story where we are. We're looking to the problem of the future problems, and I'd love to have discussions with various people. And then just a final thanks to everybody. I mean, I'm looking around and I see the conveyances here, and Dirk and Dean, when I took over, will know that I used to phone them up and say, listen guys, just remember, I'm not even at the 101 level. And I said that over and over again, and they would have to tell me the same thing over and over again, and thank you very much for that. Your patience is unbelievable. One of the town planners, Lisa Milan, is not here. Also, exactly the same thing. In fact, very, very moving when Perry passed away. She said, I want to give a title in his name. I was talking to Lisa, and I said, now, how did you get involved with Perry? He said, well, apparently Perry Googled town planners and came up with my name. And he couldn't have hit he hit the jackpot there. So I'm going to leave out people I know, and I'm sorry. But thank you to all the sponsors. Really, your support. Okay. I know one of our sponsors actually said to me, it's actually much easier for us to write a check than to do the work, and thank us for doing the work. But without the sponsors, there's no way that we would be here. So the sponsors are probably the most important people. And the municipalities. I mean, we have a very good relationship, which Perry initiated. You didn't tell the correct story, Stefan. I think that Perry said to me, gee, well, the first time I met Stefan, he said, what the hell do you do? What do you want to do? Yeah. Anyway, so again, when I phoned up Stefan, he said, anything we can do together. And we've got a meeting, I think, in a few days' time to talk about it also. it just seems to me that everybody involved in housing, from your staff here to your people here, are just, I don't know, it's just something special. And then very special personal thanks to Ilse, who's helped with everything. And I mean, this is all amazing what you've done, yeah? And to everybody else. I'm sorry that I've left anybody else. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Terry, for that very moving tribute to Perry as well. I think your friend will be very proud of the work that you've done, continuing to carry the Khaya Lam project forward. And we're very grateful for your tireless efforts. I don't know where you get your energy from, but you are a formidable champion of private property rights in South Africa. And we've had a lot of thank yous here today, but I think there is a broader context to this discussion, which is also the role of political leadership as well, and national legislation. And we're very delighted to be joined by representatives of the F.W. de Klerk Foundation, also Lita de Klerk. And President de Klerk played a significant role in setting the scene, in a way, for the work that would come when his government instituted the Upgrading of Land Tenure Act in 1991. And that legislation effectively transferred the ownership of council properties to the residents of these properties. In many instances, those owners had been living on those properties for generations, but that legislation was just a single step. The transferring of the legal title to those owners in recognition of their fundamental ownership rights was to come, and that's how the Khaya Lam project emerged. But I think it's a very good example of how national leaders can also play a significant role in creating an enabling environment for something as important as private property rights. So we're very grateful to have you here today, Lita, and also the broader foundation as well. Okay, so we would like to just open up the floor if there are any questions for the people who have spoken here today. I'm sure our speakers would be delighted to share any additional context. I think we'll keep the Q&A pretty brief because there are some delicious snacks and coffee waiting for us over there, and I'm sure we'd all like to just socialize and really revel in this special moment. So are there any questions from the audience? Does anybody have anything to say or any comments? Yes, Mayor.
I just want to say to Stefan and to Cape Town, we're ready for the competition. We just need a handicap. So watch this space.
Like a handicap in golf. Yes, exactly. Okay. Yes, I see Gabriel's hand up there. If you could please just introduce yourself before you ask your question.
I'm Gabriel Macon from the Social Research Foundation. I was just wondering, how did you go from being only able to do 100 title deeds in 3 years to being able to do 3,000 in 1 year? What was the process what was the watershed moment that made you able to speed up the process?
Maybe I can pass this off to Terry. I'd imagine it's proof of concept, right? Pilot project.
Hello. So it reminds me in the early days, Perry and I, after we did 100 and then we went to a few hundred and so on, you know, it looks like it may take off. And I spoke to him, I said, you know, we're in a trickle now. Hopefully we become a stream. Eventually it'll become a river. And one day it's got to become a tsunami. And that's what you guys are talking about. We've got to get that tsunami going. But there was no magic bullet. It was just, I think, hard work. I mean, the first 100 was just a learning situation. We did 3,000 last year because of 10 years of experience. And you can see our sponsors are still unhappy. so they're saying to us, it's not enough. And they're absolutely right. It isn't enough. It's changed our whole mindset. Yeah, there we were patting ourselves on the back, and they're saying to us, no, it's not enough. So it's just doing the same thing over and over again and more, and getting the applicants in, and then meeting people particularly in the Western Cape, where we said, okay, it's relatively easy when you go to the Western Cape and somebody says, yeah, can you help us with 500 here or 1,000 here? So there's not much work we have to do other than agree to find a sponsor to pay for that. In the Free State, it's much more hard work because remember, we've got to get the applicants to come in. And that's not easy. So we process everybody in the Free State. We've done roughly the same amount, I'm guessing more or less the same amount.
Yeah, Terry, I think a good metaphor would be that we started building the plane, and whilst we were building it, it took off, and it's flying, and now we're trying to learn how to fly it as we've been going. So it's a constant work in progress. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think we've been quite effusive in our thanks of the many people who've contributed to the project, but we've learned a lot from our partners, from the sponsors and so on. A lot of expertise exists in these organizations that we've been able to draw on, and hopefully we can scale those efforts.
Absolutely, yeah.
Any other
not necessarily questions, just comments. I mean, in terms of the way forward, I'd love people to come up and say, yeah, informal settlements, your proposal is a little bit or we shouldn't be doing that, but it's a mindset change. I'm going to push it. Yeah. Okay, I think, David, we can...
Yeah, I think I can hear stomachs rumbling. I think that means that we should break for lunch. Yeah, just a kind of final comment from me. I must say, as the CEO of the Free Market Foundation, I am very proud of the work that the Khaya Lam project has done. I can't claim to be the one really driving it forward. I think Terry is the engine room of Khaya Lam. And we look forward to seeing this project grow. And I think we're only just getting started. So do keep an eye on us. We have very ambitious goals to really transform land and property ownership in South Africa. It is a fundamental part of being a human being and part of your fundamental rights. And we want to give effect to that. And I think there was a comment earlier around that. I think it was Zintle who said that everybody has this inherent dignity. It's not for us to bestow on them, but we want to remove barriers to any potential infringements on that and to enhance that dignity that everyone deserves. All right, well, thank you very much. Please do join me in a final round of applause for the Khaya Lam team and all of the sponsors and participants. Thank you very much. Please do join us for some refreshments. Cheerio.